What up, YouTube? Today we're going to be replacing the spark plugs on a 2003 Lincoln Towncar. Stay tuned. Alright, so step one, after we get the hood open, is we're going to have to take off the engine cover. And on my particular version, I have this weird square nut on top that is supposed to come off with a 1/4-inch drive ratchet. However, you probably won't be able to fit the ratchet in there since it's in a recessed hole, so it'll be best to use an extension to remove that. You can also use a tool like this, which I'll be using now on the driver. Just make sure you have the correct chuck, attachment, or drive installed into it. So we're going to go ahead and get that out. And mine is actually stuck to the stud, so I'm going to go ahead and fix that so that it stays in there like it's supposed to. This stud is supposed to stay in there when you take the engine cover off, so I've gone ahead and removed that from the cover because it was stuck in there, and I went ahead and tightened it down. Alright, so here we are on the easy side of the engine, and I will point out the ignition coils, which will need to be removed before we can replace the spark plugs. So here is the rearmost one. Here's another one. You can see the electrical connector. Here's another one, and its electrical connector. And then the last one is right under where this fuel line is. So we're going to go ahead and remove those. Alright, so in order to remove these, we're going to need a 7mm. So I'll go ahead and get started. Try to be kind of careful because these are screwed into plastic. Well, not directly into plastic, but into a sleeve that's pushed into plastic. So we may end up needing a swivel. Nope, I think we got it. So I am going to go ahead and skip, well actually I may not skip cylinder 3, but we've already replaced the spark plug on cylinder 3, so I won't be doing that one. It was kind of an emergency situation. So I got these front ones loose for sure. So we'll go ahead and unplug the connector by squeezing the tab in at the bottom and pulling it out. Tab's there. And then you want to kind of work the coil out from underneath the fuel rail. And then you want to pull it up. I'll go ahead and remove the bolt the rest of the way first. I thought it was out all the way. There we go. Okay. And we should be able to pull this up and out of there fairly easily. Okay. So there's one coil right there, and it's held in by this 7mm bolt. So that's our cylinder 1 coil. This side of the engine is cylinders 1, 2, 3, and 4, moving from front to back. So now we'll go ahead and get the number 2 out. Got that unplugged. I'll try to get this bolt out of there. Okay, got the bolt. And we'll get the coil, give it a little tug. Okay, there's that second one. I need to clean that off a little bit. I do believe that these are all original coils as well. I'm going to need a ratchet to remove that last bolt. Now this last one here is probably going to be a bit of a pain to remove just because of its location. That's alright. I've dealt with hard stuff before. Surely that's loose enough to come out by hand now. Right on. Got the bolt out. Alright, so now I'm going to try to unplug this connector back here. Okay, got it. And luckily, the fuel rail kind of stops at about the halfway point on this one, so you don't have to fight getting it out from under the rail as much there. So now I'm gonna go ahead and start pulling these plugs. Alright, so I got a 6-inch extension down in that back hole, and then I've got a swivel socket, and then another 6-inch extension, and then I put a reducer on this 1/2-inch drive just to give me a little bit more leverage. Now should be able to get this out the rest of the way a little easier. Alright, make sure that actually got it. Now there's this hose back here you got to work around. You got to kind of push it back to get your socket and extension in there. Now I'm going to try to get a magnet. This one might be a little too big. We'll see. Oh, we got her. And this one appears to be loose already. That's not good. But it could explain a couple of times where I've had a slightly rough, just kind of general running experience, I guess. But we had a cylinder 3 misfire the other day. Had to replace the coil and the plug while I was on the road about an hour away from home. So that was fun. I didn't even know if that was going to fix the problem, of course. I just had to kind of hope for the best because I needed to get home, and I was willing to risk having a tow bill or risk that not being the correct part more than I wanted to risk a tow bill. So I ended up putting a plug and a coil in it, and it seemed to work out all right. So that was the cylinder number 2 plug. Now we're going to go after number 1. We got to go in at somewhat of an angle, and this fuel rail is really in the way on that, so I may have to get a shorter extension. So I think for this one, what I'm going to do is use a setup like this: shorter extension, spark plug socket with a swivel, and that should bring us out where we need to be. We'll get that in there. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. And we'll plug this other extension up. Make sure we're locked onto the spark plug. And we'll get our ratchet and yet another extension. Just trying to make this job as easy as possible. Looks like my swivel twisted off somehow. Maybe because I was going towards the front of the fuel rail and it just had a bit of a... Oh, well, we broke it loose at least, so it just slipped off during that, I guess. We're getting this one out of there. Long extensions are your friend on this job, for sure. I do also want to mention, for those who do not know, this particular procedure is also applicable to the Ford Crown Victorias and the Mercury Grand Marquis. It is also applicable to many Mustangs because they also have this same engine. Interesting. The front plug is an auto light. Very interesting. I wonder if they had a misfire like I did and had a similar situation. I was thinking these were all original plugs, but clearly they are not. And then I don't even know if this auto light one is even a platinum or not. I'm pretty sure. I haven't read the owner's manual, but I didn't want to put copper plugs in it, and I didn't want to buy the most expensive ones they had either. I felt like platinum would be decent. I probably should have gone ahead and read the owner's manual, but I've pulled 2 Motorcraft Platinums out of it, so I think that we're probably safe on using the platinum plugs. So I've got the 3 out here on this side, so I'm going to go ahead and put those back in, and then I may end up taking my borescope and looking down in that cylinder 3 because I saw a little coolant and that made me a little bit concerned. So I kind of want to see if there's any more coolant in there or not. We're going to be going in with the Autolite Platinums. Focus now. There we go. Part number AP104. I'm pretty sure all the spark plugs for this engine are going to be 104 in the part number. It's just the prefix may be a little bit different. And then, okay, so this is a platinum plug that we pulled out of it because this is the old one. This is a new one. Both AP104. Alright, so I did make the correct choice when buying spark plugs, it seems. I still may cross-reference the owner's manual just to be sure, but probably not going to change anything even if it does say something different because we're already here and seems to be running alright on these platinum plugs, so I would imagine it'll continue to do so with better ones, newer ones rather. We got this cylinder 1 plug getting threaded up here. Go ahead and put our ratchet back on. Make sure you're not going too crazy with this, at least if you're doing the same tool setup as I am, because that is a large ratchet and you can get quite a bit of leverage on there, and you don't want to go breaking your spark plug off, because although that's more common on the 5.4 liter Tritons, I believe that it can also happen on these. Good news is I haven't really seen too much fluid on any of these ones that I pulled out here. I think that one of them might have had a little bit of oil or gunk or something on it, but definitely not liquid coolant. So anyway, here is our cylinder 1 spark plug, or excuse me, ignition coil that we pulled out. I believe that's still the original Ford part number. Doesn't say Ford anywhere on here, which is kind of weird. Ford's real big about putting their name on every single thing, but I'm pretty sure that this is what the factory ones look like. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and put the bolt in there just because I found that it may be a little easier to line everything up if you just have the bolt in there ready to go already. So we're going to go ahead and push this coil in. Try to get the bolt above the hole that it goes into, and then kind of try to push down on the coil. And it's not wanting to go for some reason. There we go. Make sure it's on there good. I've heard and seen where you can get these down in there and it seems like they're on, but they're not really on, so definitely watch for that. Go ahead and get this one hand tight real quick. Come on now. Interesting. Okay. It's a little rough, but it's going in. I know some of you guys in the past have asked to kind of see more videos of me actually working on the cars, so this would be a very good video for that. We got that in. I'm gonna go ahead and reconnect the electrical connector, and then we will move on to the next one. So just for a little bit of speed, I'm gonna go ahead and just slide these in to both holes there. And then, if I remember right, on that second one, we were pretty much able to just kind of go straight on it. Okay. And we'll get a regular ratchet on this one. And then if you do want to go ahead and torque these to spec, you definitely can. I've been working on stuff for a long time, and I hate to sound like an old timer, but I know what I'm doing. I know how tight I'm tightening stuff. I'm used to my tools and how they work on stuff and how tight they tighten stuff. So like I said, if you want to torque yours, you're more than welcome to, but I am definitely comfortable with how tight I've tightened these. So now put this back on there, hopefully. Like I said, guys, this one back here is one of the more difficult ones anyway. For sure the most difficult one on this side. And then, if I haven't mentioned this at the beginning of the video, this is the easy side. Man, that does not want to go in. What is going on? There we go. Now, put this in there. Okay. Alright. Now we got all three plugs in. I'll come out of there. There's a couple more tools. Man, this hose is quite the pain in the ass to work around on that last one. Okay. All the plugs out on this side except the one that I already did, which, like I said, I may end up still pulling that out just to take a look. Haven't quite decided yet. Now I'm going to clean this other coil up. I'll just kind of show you guys what I'm doing here. Just taking one of these Turbo Towels wipes. They're slightly moist, and they're very, very good at degreasing. I mean, it can make some stuff like this look brand new if you're patient enough to wipe it all down. So I want to take care of this car. As many of you guys know, I'm a big Lincoln guy. So now that I got one as my daily driver, definitely don't want to be screwing it up or half-assing it. And this is just one of those things, going the extra mile for the customer, which is me. Now, would I do this on a customer's car if I was working on it? Probably not. But are they going to pay me a few extra minutes of labor to do this? Probably not. So for me, it's worth my time, because if you rewind about 10-15 seconds, this looks like a totally different coil from the one that we just saw. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back in cylinder 2. And then of course cylinder 2, and maybe 3 as well, but definitely cylinder 2 is probably the easiest one to do on this side. Okay. Get this one in hand tight. We'll go ahead and plug it up. Okay. Tighten it down. Is that enough? And we'll clean up this last coil as well. So I found out that this particular coil is an aftermarket one, and so this coil must have failed in the past. This is the one that came off of cylinder 4 or cylinder 1. I'll have to rewind the clips and check. I'm honestly not sure, but if I have them in the right order, it should be cylinder... I think I put the coils in the wrong spot. I think this was actually cylinder 1, and somebody did kind of the same thing I did, but they did it and just moved on. I did it, and I'm coming back to do the rest. All right, so I went ahead and placed that rear one in there and hand tighten it. And now I just got to tighten it the rest of the way with this. If I can get on it, there we go. And then I also took the liberty of wiping a couple extra things down in here that I didn't get while I was doing the last service, such as the fuel rail and some other nearby hoses. That fuel rail really did shine up like chrome. To make sure that's good. Oh heck no. That needs to go down some more. Weird that it feels kind of tight already. Yeah, this has got to be that one I pulled off the front, I think. 'Cause I'm pretty sure that is the one I had the tough bolt on. Wonder if some asshole stripped it out. Now it's tight, we're good. Alright, now we've got all 4 plugs replaced on this side. And we've got all the coils put back on. Of course, we only did 3. Here are those 3 that we removed. 2 probably original plugs. 1 that's been replaced before that got replaced with an identical model and part number of plug. Alright, so as you can see, the plugs on this side are covered up mostly by the air snorkel or air intake duct, whatever you want to call it. So at the very minimum, we're going to need to remove these 2 clamps. There's one here, one over here by the throttle body, and I believe this air chamber, this muffler, silencer, whatever, that one may have a bolt on it somewhere on the other side. And then we've got 2 hoses that are connected into it as well. So I'm going to start removing those. And these are going to be 8mm. Okay, that's that. And then I want to take a look and see. Yep, that looks like maybe an 11 or a 12. I don't think that's a 10. Let me see. 1/4 inch 11. Make it a little easier on myself. We'll set that nut over here. And then we'll get these hoses pulled out. They should kind of just slide out for the most part. That's your PCB lines, I believe. So, wow, this is nice and flexible. That is excellent. Sometimes these things can be extremely stiff and difficult to work with, so I'm thankful that it's nice. Now, the engine is somewhat warm because I did go out working today, but I'm very happy that this is not super brittle or stiff or anything like that. It's a little stuck on the throttle though. Come on now. There we go. And we can lift this entire piece out of here. And then while it's out, I'm probably going to clean some of that gunk off as well. And now we have much better access to our spark plugs and coils. And just in case you do not have the trained eye, here is our cylinder number 5 coil and its electrical connector. Here's our cylinder 6 coil and its connector, cylinder 7, cylinder 8. So now I'm going to clean this up and we'll get started on those coils. Okay, so got that air duct wiped off, kind of cleaned up the valve cover a little bit. It's still far from perfect, but if I ever have to do a valve cover gasket, then that's when I'll clean them up really good. But it's kind of hard to clean them very well without like spraying a bunch of water on the engine, which I really don't want to do, or taking the valve covers off. So that's fairly clean for now. I'm going to go ahead and kind of spritz this alternator bracket up a little bit. Just trying to give everything a little once over while I'm in here. But we're going to go ahead and remove these other plugs here in one sec. Just trying to kind of keep her clean under here. That's decent enough, I guess. Alright, we'll grab our 7mm. We're going to kind of just do these all at once. There's 1, 2, and I can already tell I'm going to need a swivel. Alright, this ought to work. There's that one. And then hopefully I can get at this one without too much trouble. These back ones are definitely the harder ones. Alright, oh come on. We may need a short socket. Let me grab a short 7. Having lots of tools available to you is also a huge asset. If you're a do-it-yourselfer doing this at home, which I assume that you are if you're watching this. Man, that one's really rough coming out. That don't sound good at all. Might have to put a little PB blaster on that going back in. Alright, I think it's loose enough. Now we'll go ahead and unplug the 4 connectors. That's 2. There's 3. And 4. We'll grab these last couple bolts too. Guess I didn't hardly loosen this 3rd one here at all. And while I'm doing that, we can pull this number 5 coil out. It does look like there is a small amount of something on there. Not a fan of seeing stuff like that, for sure. But all I can really do is change this stuff and hope for the best that it doesn't have some other sort of major problem, because this is my vehicle for now. There's another one. Not as bad as the first. And here's the second one. There's a lot of gunk in there. And I tried to blow this out pretty well too before I started, but I guess we'll see. I'll grab this last bolt. Okay. And we'll pull this coil out. Man, that one's really under the rail. There we go. Got it. All of them out. And only the first one had a little bit of something on there. Probably should have done this beforehand, but I'm going to go ahead and take my shop vac and try to get as much of that out of there as I can. It's technically not too late. We haven't took the plugs out, but I don't want to risk getting any of that debris in there. That should be good enough. Alright, so let's go ahead and start tackling these plugs. These first three should be super duper easy. That's one of them. That's number 2. And then number 3. Maybe number 4. Oh man. Alright. I take back everything I said earlier. This is the easier side, for sure. So now, we'll go ahead, twist those out the rest of the way, and put these new ones in. I'll speed up the process just a little bit. Yeah, there's definitely coolant or something in one of these. Oh, that plug actually came out. Nice. Alright. And we'll get our magnet here. And we'll pull one out. That's number 5. Oh boy. That's definitely got coolant on it. That's not good. I hope that's an intake gasket or something and not a head gasket. Because it's not really on the tip of the plug. It's only on like the outer body of the plug. That definitely sucks though, for sure. We'll get this other one. Oh boy, that one's got a bunch of crap all over it too. Awesome. Here's that third one. Yeah, this is kind of what I was seeing on the other side too. Damn it. And here's the last one. Not as bad, but definitely has fluid on it. So I'm going to have to do some research on that and see if that's an intake or if that's a head or what's going on with that, why there would be coolant in there. But for now, we're going to go ahead and put these plugs in because we took them out already, and might as well put some new ones in. Plus, video is to show you how to do this job, so regardless of what's going on with mine, you can at least fix yours up, and hopefully there will be no coolant in your cylinders. And honestly, it's running decent, so I'm not really too worried about it as far as the coolant, but definitely something to look into for sure. So now we're going to go ahead and drop these new plugs in. Alright, so I went ahead and dropped the new plugs in there. So we're just going to get these kind of started by hand. And then we'll tighten them up the rest of the way. Yeah, this side is definitely easier to get to once you take that intake off. Yeah, some of those other ones were a bit tougher to get to, even though nothing was in the way. Okay, that's one. That's two. Three. And four. Alright, we got these other 4 coils all cleaned up. And we're going to go ahead and put those in as well. Okay, all 4 coils are put in, tightened up, and electrical connectors connected. And here's our air duct put back on. We got both clamps tightened, both hoses reinstalled, and the 11mm nut put back on. Now we just got to put the engine cover on. And with that stud put in there how it's supposed to be, we can tighten this on much easier. Looking good, looking good. Seems to still be running all right. Very good. Hopefully that coolant just doesn't come back. I'm sure we'll see issues in the future, but for now she's doing good. That's going to be the end of the video for today, guys. Hope you all enjoyed. If you liked the video, please leave a like and a comment below. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. Trying to hit 3,000 before the end of 2024. If you could help me out with that, I would greatly appreciate it. Otherwise, stay tuned for many more awesome videos on this car and on the channel. I'm Andy, signing off.